Okay, so this video is remediation about slope. You're going to learn about slope of a graph, slope of an equation, and slope from 2 points. So what will you learn in this video? You're going to learn the difference between types of slope and finding slope, how to draw the arrows for slope. You're going to learn the slope formula, and then you'll be able to determine slope if you're given an equation, if you have a graph, or if you're given 2 points. So first we're going to start with type of slope versus slope. So a lot of times people confuse these. So there are 4 types of slope. So hay 4 tipos de slope. We have positive, and positive slope is this direction. There is negative slope. It's the opposite. Zero slope is horizontal. And then undefined slope, which is vertical. So those are the 4 types of slope. If someone's asking just for slope, like what is the slope of the graph, that's different than what is the type of slope of the graph, okay? So for example, in this graph that's given, I found 2 points. Slope will be it's 3 spaces down, which means it's negative. 2 to the right should be positive, so slope is negative 3 over 2. It is always a fraction, okay? Even sometimes if it's a whole number, it's written as a fraction to help you graph, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, now for slope, I teach with arrows. So if it's going up, it's positive. If it's going down, it's negative. If it's going to the left, it's negative. And then if it's going to the right, it's positive. Okay, so we're going to fill out the blanks to the right. So again, you always need to count the spaces up or down first. So siempre necesitas contar los espacios. Siempre está arriba primero or está abajo. Okay, and then second, always count the spaces to the right or the left. That's second. So segundo, tú puedes contar derecha or izquierda y cuántos espacios. Okay, so up is positive, and then down is negative. Right is positive, and left is negative. If you find this difficult to memorize, think about a graph, okay? If you have a graph, the numbers up are always positive. The numbers down are always negative. The numbers to the right are positive. The numbers to the left are negative. So, este es porque la gráfica siempre los números hasta arriba son números negativos y los números abajo siempre son negativos. Derecha los números en la gráfica siempre es positivo y izquierda es negativo. So es igual con este. Okay, so it's the same thing as this. All right, so now we're going to apply it. So again, up is positive, down is negative, right is positive, left is negative. Okay, so that's going to help us figure out. So negative 3 over 4. So negative 3, I'm using this arrow. So para negativo 3, estamos usando esta opción, arriba or abajo. Okay, so because it's negative, that means that it goes down. 4 is positive, which means it goes to the right. And those are the slope arrows. So, ¿por qué negativo 3 es negativo? Negativo significa está en la dirección de abajo. 4, este número aquí, es positivo, entonces si es positivo significa derecha. All right, now for 1/2. 1 is positive, so that means it's going to go up. 2 is positive, so it's going to go to the right. And that's the answer. Uno es positivo, entonces es arriba. Y 2 es positivo, entonces es derecha. So, necesitas memorizar este, and then tú puedes identificar si está arriba o abajo, o derecha o izquierda para los números. Okay? So now we're going to practice. So it is your turn. I want you to write the arrows for each number here. These are all different types of slope. Okay? All right, now I'm going to give you the answers. So 5 is positive, so it's up. -3 is negative, so it's left. 4 is positive, so it's up. 7 is positive, so it's right. 2, this one is a little bit different. When you don't have a number on the bottom, you have to write it over 1. So cuando un número no tiene un número abajo, siempre necesitas escribir 1. Y ahora tienes una fracción. So now you have a fraction. 2 is positive, so it's up. 2 es positivo, entonces está arriba. And 1 is positive, so it's to the right. 1 es positivo, entonces es derecha. Now the other one, -8, means it's going down, but +3 means it's going right. And then for the last one, we have -6. So that means we have another negative number, and it doesn't have a number on the bottom, so you have to write it. So aquí tenemos -6. So este es otro ejemplo donde no tienes un número abajo. So siempre, cuando no tienes un número abajo, necesitas escribir 1. So remember, always write 1. So 6 is negative, 6 is negativo, so that means it's down. 1 is positive, so it's right. All right, now we're learning type 1 problem. So type 1 problem is when you're finding slope from equations. So there are 2 rules. Rule number 1, hay dos reglas, regla número 1. You always need y alone. Okay, so here, y alone, y alone, y alone, y alone, y alone. This one, there's no y alone, so that's why that one's going to be different. Rule number 2 is slope is with x. So if y is alone, then slope is the number with x. So si tienes y sola en tu ecuación, siempre slope es el número con la x. Okay, so if y is alone, the number that's always with the x is slope. Okay, so we have a perfect example here. Este es un ejemplo. Slope is with x. Slope siempre es con la x. Okay, I like to say they are best friends. Me gusta decir que slope y x son mejores amigos with a heart. Okay, so slope is 2 and the best friend is x in this example. Okay, so we have 4 different examples. So again, example number 1, ejemplo número 1 ahora. Okay, let's check the rules. Rule number 1 is y alone? Yes. Rule number 2, slope is with x. Slope is with x. So slope is, whoa, I don't know why that happened, is -3 over 4. And this example, example number 2, slope is 8. And the next one, it's a little bit more difficult. So example 3 is different because there's no number with x. So en ejemplo número 3 es un poquito diferente porque no hay número enfrente de la x. But it's invisible. Okay, so you have to write it. It's not just negative in front of the x. Okay, there's a number there, but it's invisible. So, no es solo negativo enfrente de la x, hay un número invisible y tú necesitas escribir. So, siempre es 1. So, escribe 1. Pero en este ejemplo, hay un negativo también. So, in this example, you have to write the number because it's invisible. It's a 1. But in this case, it's actually a negative 1. All right. Now, first we're going to finish examples 1, 2, and 3. I want you to draw the arrows. So ahora necesitamos practicar dibujando las flechas para slope en ejemplo número 1, 2, y 3. So negative 3 over 4 would be down and then right. 8, I would draw it over 1. So when there's no number, write 1. Cuando no hay número bajo, siempre escribe 1. So 8 is positive, up. 1 is positive, right. Now, example 3. Ahora ejemplo número 3. Again, negative 1 over, there's no number, no hay número aquí, entonces siempre es 1. So negative 1 is down, and positive 1 is to the right. All right, this last example is different because it does not have y alone. So ejemplo número 4 es diferente porque no tiene y sola, y esta es una regla, okay? So that means that we need to solve the equation. We need to isolate y. So eso significa porque la y no está sola, no podemos identificar slope. So necesitamos resolver el problema primero, aislar la y después tú puedes identificar. So first you need to draw a line. So on this side, I want y alone. On this side, I want x and numbers. Okay? So I have 3 groups. Tengo 3 grupos. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the first group is 3x. It's bad because it doesn't have a y, so I need to move it. So el primer grupo es 3x y no tiene y, so no está en el correcto lado. So necesitamos mover ese grupo. So it's positive 3x, and now it's going to become negative 3x. So when it crosses the line, change the sign. The second group is negative 4y. That group is good, so copy below. Negativo 4y tiene una y, so está bien este lado, tú puedes copiar abajo. The last group, 24, is a number, so it's good. Copy below, and it's positive. So 24 es un número, so está bien en este lado, so tú puedes copiar abajo. Okay, now I'm close to the answer. I need y alone, so goodbye, what number? Si yo quiero la y sola, ¿qué número necesitamos eliminar? Adiós, ¿qué número? So if we want the y alone, what number are we eliminating? Be negative 4. Goodbye, negative 4, and goodbye, negative 4. So eliminate. Y is alone. And then this, you can always check in Desmos. Siempre puedes checar la fracción en Desmos si puedes simplificar. So if I go here, and then I'm going to hit the division button, I'm going to write negative 3 over negative 4. So a negative over a negative is positive. If you get a decimal, remember, click this button. So you see negative over negative is the same as positive over positive. So aquí tienes una fracción, so es negativo sobre negativo, y cuando tienes un decimal te puedes convertir para una fracción si tocas este botón. Y mira, negativo sobre negativo siempre es positivo. So that simplifies to positive 3 over 4. I copy the x, and then again, check, that's division, esa es división. Tú puedes usar Desmos si quieres. You can use Desmos if you want. So it's 24 over negative 4, or you can just calculate it. But 24 divided by negative 4 should be, whoops, 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. Now I have my equation, and I know that slope is the number with x. So slope is 3 over 4. Up 3, right 4. So that's how you find slope from equations. Those are 4 different types. So así es como puedes identificar slope cuando tienes una ecuación. Hay 4 tipos. Okay, so now here you have practice. So take a couple minutes, identify slope, and just know that slope m is the same as just writing slope or m. It all means the same thing. So aquí si dice slope m, or solo m, todo significa la misma cosa. So necesitas practicar escribiendo diferentes maneras de la palabra slope. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes and then we can check the answers. All right, now I'm going over the answers. So for the first one, slope is negative 2 over 3. That should be down 2, right 3. The next one is 7 over 2. Up 7, right 2. The next one is 5. So you can write 5 or 5 over 1. The next one, it's invisible. Es invisible, es uno. So you can write 1 or 1 over 1. So up 1, right 1. The last one is a trick question because I flipped it. So the number with x is actually negative 3. Or negative 3 over 1. Down 3, right 1. So el último está un truco porque yo cambié el orden. So es el número con la x. Entonces tú sabes que es negativo 3 en este caso. All right. The second type of problem is when you're given graphs. So step 1 is you need to find 2 points. Okay, so if you're given a graph, you need 2 points to find slope. So si tienes una gráfica, necesitas encontrar 2 puntos si quieres identificar slope. So step 2 is determine directions from one point to another. Step 3, write your slope fraction. And step 4, double check your signs. So signs is positive or negative. Okay, now I want you to write the steps in your first language. So ahora necesitas escribir los pasos en tu primer idioma. Okay, for this example, okay, we're going to do step 1. Find 2 points. So en este ejemplo, necesitamos hacer paso 1. Paso 1 es identificar 2 puntos. So the first point I always look for is on the y-axis. Siempre tú puedes encontrar tu primer punto en el eje de y. So look on the y-axis first. There's your first point. Okay, ese es mi primer punto. Está en el eje de y. Next, you need to find where the graph crosses the corner of a square. So aquí necesitas buscar dónde la gráfica está cruzando una esquina de un cuadro. Okay, so if I zoom in, is this a corner of a square? ¿Esta es una esquina de un cuadro? No. So este no es un punto. Okay, so that's not a corner, so that's not a point. All right, what about this one? Is that on the corner of a square? So este punto está en una esquina de un cuadro? Sí, entonces este es un punto. So yes, this is a point. Okay, so now we're going to do step 2. So step 2 is determine the directions from one point to the other. Okay, so I need to determine how do I get from this point to this point. So necesitamos determinar cómo puedes ir de este punto a este. Okay, so I'm going to count my spaces. I'm going to go down 1 space and then right 2 spaces. So podemos ir abajo un espacio y después derecha 2 espacios y está en el otro punto. Okay, so now you're going to write your slope fraction. So ahora podemos escribir la fracción. So we did 1 down and then 2 to the right. And I can move that for more space. Okay, 1 down, 2 to the right. Okay, step 4, I need to double check my signs. So paso 4, necesitamos checar otra vez los signos de mi fracción. So for example, 1 is down, and we know that down means negative. So aquí sabemos que cuando está abajo significa números negativos. Necesitas escribir negativo enfrente de 1. Okay, and that's the answer. Esta es la respuesta. That's how we find slope. All right, now we're going to practice. So take a couple minutes, find 2 points on each graph, and then determine slope. All right, here are the answers. So for the first one, there's a point here and a point here. So I can go up 1 and then right 1. And that's my slope. The second one is different because this one is special. It is 0 slope. Or you can write the number 0. The next one is also a trick question. Since the line is vertical, it is undefined. So los dos aquí son trucos, ¿ok? Porque cuando está horizontal, este es horizontal, slope es 0. Pero cuando slope es vertical, slope es undefined. The last one, I gave you 2 points. So this one is up 4 and then right 2. So aquí tienes 2 puntos. So necesitas contar los espacios. So es arriba 4 espacios y después derecha 2 espacios. The problem here is that we need to simplify the fraction. So el problema aquí es necesitamos simplificar la fracción. So both numbers are even numbers, so you can half them. So half of 4 is 2, and half of 2 is 1. And this is the answer that is simplified. So aquí podemos hacer la mitad de cada número. So la mitad de 4 es 2, la mitad de 2 es 1. Okay, you can even do it on here. Up 2, right 1, and there's another point. So este está bien, este es correcto porque tú puedes ir 2 espacios arriba, 1 derecha y tienes otro punto. All right. So now we're going to do the last type. The last type is finding slope from 2 points. So first step is to write the names. Okay, if you don't do this step, you are likely to make a mistake in the problem. Okay, so paso número 1 es escribe los nombres. Okay, what do I mean by names? I mean by this is point number 1. That's point number 1. This is point number 2. So in a point, x is always first and y is second. But since it's point 1, it's x1, y1. And point 2 is x2 and y2. So please, you have to write these, otherwise you're going to make a mistake. So aquí tenemos 2 puntos, punto 1 y punto 2. So para paso 1, siempre necesitas escribir los nombres. Para punto 1, x es primero, y es segundo, y es 1 y 1 porque es punto número 1. En el segundo es 2 y 2 porque es punto número 2. Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2 is write the slope formula. So paso 2 es escribir la fórmula de slope. So slope formula is m equals parentheses y2 parentheses minus parentheses y1 parentheses over x2 parentheses minus parentheses x1. That is the slope formula. Please use parentheses so that you prevent mistakes. Step 3 is substitute the values. Okay, values just means numbers. So paso 3 es sustituir los valores. Valores solo significa números. And then step 4 is type it in Desmos. So paso 4, escribe en Desmos. Desmos is the online calculator, es la calculadora en línea. So I wrote my names. Now I'm going to write the formula, which is right here. So I did that. And now I'm going to do step 3. Ahora podemos hacer paso 3. So we're going to substitute. So draw the line and all the parentheses. So first I have y2. What number is y2? So el primer espacio en mi fórmula es y2. So ¿qué número es y2? Y eso es porque necesitas los nombres abajo los números. Okay, so this is why you need the names below the numbers, so that you don't make a mistake. So y2 is actually 0. Y2 es 0. So I'm going to write that here. Okay, now I'm going to do y1. Y1 is next. So y1 es siguiente. Oops. So y1 is 2. So y1 es 2. Okay, next we have x2, which is going to go here. So x2 is -4. And then the last one is x1, and x1 is -1. So último es x1, y x1 es -1. So now I finished step 3. Step 4 is I need to type this in Desmos. So el último paso es necesitamos escribir este en Desmos. So open Desmos. So remember, if you're on Desmos, click the division button to get a fraction. And now you have the fraction here. Okay, so the numbers here is 0, 2, -4, -1. Okay, so now I have a decimal. So make sure that you click this button. So aquí tienes un decimal y necesitas tocar este botón para la fracción. So I touch the button and then my fraction is 2/3. So la fracción es 2/3. And that is the answer. So 2/3 es slope. 2/3, that is slope m. Up 2 and right 3. Okay, the last thing that you're learning in this video is the special cases. So hay casos especial con slope que necesitas saber. Okay, so I already wrote the formula and put the spaces to speed up the process, but we need to do step number 1. So tienes la fórmula y los espacios listo, pero necesitamos escribir los nombres. So this is x1, y1, point number 1. Point number 2, x2, y2. x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so in the first example, y2 is -5. y1 is 3. x2 is -2. And then the last one, x1, is -2. Okay, now if we type this in Desmos, it's a special case. So si escribimos este en Desmos, es un caso especial. So we have -5, 3. So we're just going to change it. -5, -3. Oh, +3, sorry. Lo siento, es positivo 3. And then the next one is -2 and -2. And then see, the answer is undefined. So aquí, si escribes este y la computadora dice undefined, este está bien, ese significa la respuesta. Okay, so you're going to write that slope m is undefined. Okay, that means that your graph looks like this, like a vertical line. So, ¿qué significa así? Significa la línea está vertical. Okay, if we do the other one, the second case, y2 is negative 4, y1 is negative 4, x2 is 5, and x1 is negative 3. Okay, let's try that in the calculator. So it's negative 4, negative 4, and then 5 and negative 3. 5 and negative 3. Here, the answer is 0, and that's okay. That means that the graph is horizontal. So here you're going to write 0. So slope m is 0. That means the graph looks like this. Okay? If you want to do it by hand, you can. Okay? Si quieres hacer este con tu mano sin la calculadora, tú puedes. Okay? So for example, here, if I did it by hand, negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. Down here, negative 2, and then we have minus minus is positive 2, which becomes 0. If 0 is on the bottom of a fraction, it's undefined. Si tiene 0 abajo en una fracción, significa es undefined. On the opposite side, this one, I have negative 4, minus minus is plus, menos menos is más, plus 4. On the bottom, again, minus minus, menos menos is más, so plus 3. So on this one, I have 0 over 8. If 0 is on the top, that means slope is 0. So si tiene 0 arriba, significa la respuesta es 0. Si tiene 0 abajo, significa es undefined. Okay, now that you finished this video, you must practice. Okay, so follow the steps below. You're going to go to Target Quizzes, and then you have 4 different sections that you can study. Good luck!